everyone. Thank you for joining us this evening. I'm Sarah from Cult Pens. We're looking forward to doing the workshop this evening, and I'm here to answer any questions, put any links in the chat if you have any, as we go along, and gently interrupt Ella as we go along with questions. It says tonight that we're going to be celebrating our birthday because we're 18, and we're going to be using uni pens and POSCA pens. Ella's going to be sharing her passion for all things being creative and POSCA. Tonight you're going to get the chance to ask any questions and learn anything you can along the way about any of these wonderful pens. Thanks for the happy birthday. We'll be handing over in just a moment, but I have to do the usual little bit of housekeeping. If anyone's into a workshop before, you'll know what I'm about to say. I say it every time. We anticipate the session is going to last up to an hour, so please get comfy. Obviously, if you have your own POSCA pens to hand, feel free to get creative this evening. This session is being recorded. I'm going to make the recording available later on this week on our YouTube channel. If you do miss something, have a chance to go back, take another look, pause, watch it in your own time. So all cameras and sound are switched off for the duration of the session, apart from obviously Ella's. And we ask, you can either use the chat function or the Q&A to ask any questions as we go along. So if you're ready, Ella, it's going to be over to you. I thought we could start off with a small introduction about yourself and what you love most about working with POSCA and the markers. I'm going to spotlight you.
Oh, fabulous.
There we go.
It's always lovely to be in the spotlight, isn't it? Yeah. So I'm Ella. I'm Ella Johnston. I'm an artist, and I'm also, I'm an artist in one life, and I also work for various companies on sort of their creative content. I used to be a magazine editor for craft magazines. So I'm very much sort of, I've got one head in the sort of commercial creative sector, and I've got the other head in a completely free artistic creative sector. So it's a nice life. It's a really, really nice life. I discovered POSCA in my life as an artist, and then brought them to my work as a magazine editor, and then started working with the company and basically doing lots of workshops in events all around the UK and for art shops as well. So I've done live events, I've done sort of online stuff like this, which is quite weird because I'm just sat in my dining room chatting. So hello. I think the thing I love about POSCA is that you can work on any surface, and it's got there's a quality to it that I think, obviously, as part of my job and as part of my artistic life, I work with lots and lots of different products. And there is a quality to it and a kind of excellence to it that I haven't seen with, the competitors, if I'm being completely honest. So, it gives me the ability to work on little trinkets like ceramic plates. I can sort of update fashion. I can, sort of do crazy things on water bottles, on metal water bottles, and on wood. But then I can also do crazy canvases, which is more sort of like my other work, which is, sort of really sort of bold and sort of abstract stuff. All of this is done with POSCA, and all of this, is done with pretty, it sounds silly, but, minimal effort, in the sense that I'm not fighting with the medium. And I think that the thing is, when you're either crafting, or you're an artist, or you just want to have a bit of fun, I think you don't really want to fight with your medium, and you want to just have an easy time of that. You can fight, in some ways you can fight with your own creativity and your ideas more than, but you don't want to fight with the medium. So I think that's why I love using it. And I think as well, as an artist and as someone who, sort of loves decorating things around the house and everything, I like the colour range. I'm a bit of a colour addict, really. So, although it probably doesn't look like this in this neutral background, but it's nice to have a choice of really vibrant, punchy colours. And I think that's the other thing when you're creating something, you don't want to fight with that either. You want to be able to go, wow, that's a really punchy orange, I like that. And then you can go on your creative journey with that. And I think that's, you know, talking of orange, I will be using orange today. So, you know, but it's having that colour range and having that sort of, you know, being inspired by a shade of blue or something, you know, which I think POSCA gives me. So yeah.
Question. If you had to pick a favourite colour, just because you're talking about colours, what do you think yours would be?
Well, my favourite POSCA colour, there is a very beautiful, it's available in the PC 3M and the 5M. It's a very beautiful emerald, which almost comes across as a teal. And that's gorgeous. There's also a lovely fuchsia that's in the 3M range as well. And they are just lovely. They're really, really nice. And also, if I'm just looking here, POSCA brought out 2 years ago these deep colour ranges, and they kind of remind me a bit of the Bloomsbury group. They're sort of they're kind of like vintage colours. So there's a really nice Prussian blue on there as well. It's really, you know, when you see them, you'll see that, oh, Ella likes really rich, deep colours. They're really, really nice.
Nice.
You know, I'm a bit, yeah, I can get a little bit, I can, you know, I could spend the next hour talking about colours. So, you know, I won't bore you with that, but, you know, I really can. So I thought, as a warm-up exercise, although we're going to be working with POSCA on our card designs today, I thought, just to get us all warmed up, and just for about 5 minutes, I thought we could make something with glass. So this is a really, really simple design, and I will be actually switching the phone, the workshop to a video where I'll talk over, where you can see me making the cards. But on this one, I thought we'd all just go in together. So if you've got a sort of jam jar or a just a clear glass object, I was going to use the chalk markers just to make a really, really simple decoration. So I'm just going to dot. I don't know if you can see that, and just make some really, really simple dots. And what I'm going to do is I'm going to cluster these dots at the bottom. Seeing as it's a party, I thought we could make some party decorations, basically. And the good thing about chalk markers is they're kind of like a junior POSCA. They work on different surfaces, but the great thing is they're really temporary. So you can use them and then you can kind of wipe them off. So what I'm going to do is I'll just show you what I've done. So what you do is you cluster at the bottom and then just come out at the top, and then you just gather your colours. Try doing this while I'm as you can see, I'm not looking at it, so I'm just judging from the glass. But
it looks like you're doing a good job, considering you can't see it very well.
Because I've done lots of workshops, I'm used to working upside down and sort of in different ways so people can see. So, but yeah, so you just cluster it at the bottom and then and you get this sort of fizzy effect, and I'll show you on that, so you can see how just by making some simple dots you can make quite a sort of effective design, and by using different colors you can get a sort of different look. And the great thing about the chalk markers is, unlike POSCA where you'll have a job, I mean, you can clean off POSCA, but it's a bit more stubborn. With something like the chalk markers, you can just wipe it off like that really easily with a damp cloth. So they work really, really well on, say, you've got some bored children and you've got a big window, you can get them with your chalk markers to decorate a window. And I'll just show you that, how quickly it comes off. There you go. And, you know, happy days, really. So what I thought I'd do is, we're on, if you've got some bored children, I couldn't resist. Exactly. You can wash them, off, and it's dead easy. So that's sort of a sort of nice sort of warm-up thing. But what I thought I'd do now is, just looking at the time, shall we do our first card? And I want you to do a vote to which one you do first. So we've got dance, or we've got flowers. So what do we reckon? Which one first? We'll do them both, but okay. Oh, okay. It's looking like dance has got the edge. Flowers. Oh. Sarah, what's our voting?
With the last flurry of flowers, I actually think they're probably, I was going to say equal, but we've just had another dance, so I'm going to say dance first.
Okay, well, we'll go with the majority, but I promise you we'll cover both. So me just so what I like to do is, I like to sort of film me doing it and talk over it and talk you through it, because that means that then you can actually see me doing it rather than me doing that, you know, what I've just done earlier. So let me just share my screen with you. Okay. So we're going to do dance first. So can everybody see that? Is everyone happy? If we all just put a thumbs up.
I can see it on mine.
Yeah, okay.
Everyone can see on
Well,
theirs.
okay, well, I'll assume that everyone can see it. So what I'm going to do is, I'll just so you can see my gnarly old hand there. Just bring that forward a bit. Okay, so what we've done here is, we're just going to make a very, I hope everyone's got a pencil, and we just make very, very simple shapes. So you can see that what we've tried, everything's going to be with this card is based around a simple shape. So we've got those sort of soft Ds, you know, which is just basically a kind of an oval with a straight line. There's a very soft triangle with the sort of corners just rounded off. The N is just a little simple triangle, and the C is a kind of semicircle. So we've got these basic shapes. Okay. So then when you make those basic shapes, then you can start adding characters to it. So you can start just making those little indentations and stuff. So you can actually produce some fairly sort of nice contemporary looking text just by these simple shapes. And we'll bring these to life with our POSCA, but this one's a very much, this one's a sketch now and colour in, basically. So that's our initial dance. Now we're going to do our kind of Keith Haring-esque man. So I've slowed down the video for this so you can actually see me do it in slow motion, so you get a good idea of how to make this shape. It's quite a simple shape, and you can see it's just angles and lines, but it's quite effective, and we're paying homage to the artist Keith Haring here. So again, it's just dead simple, the shape you're making, but it is just lines and angles, and it's just getting that. It might take a little bit of practice. I think, you know, all those lonely teenage years of not having any friends made me quite good at this, but or maybe not. But it's a case of just practice, really, you know. But this is quite a simple shape, and it's quite a sort of nice shape, but it's very iconic, so you can, you know, have a bit of fun with it. And once you get the hang of this one with just the lines and the angles, then obviously you can have a little bit of fun playing about with different kind of dance moves, basically, and you can create a little family. We're using 5M and 1M POSCAs today, but what you could theoretically do is use some of our larger POSCAs to do some large scale artwork on this. You could create a whole mural with these dancing figures if you liked it, or you could do a banner on fabric with it, which could be quite nice. So that, you know, it's quite a nice basic design, and it sort of feeds into the kind of DNA of the brand as well. So, you know, that whole sort of street art vibe of the POSCA brand. So there's our little dancing man, and now we can get going with the pens. So I've used a really nice colour combination for this. I'm aware that it's a birthday party, so I've used party colours. And so maybe this tells you an awful lot about me and my kind of vintage, that I've kind of used rave colours, you know, sort of big, deep pinks, and, you know, nice and bright, and oranges and clashes. Basically, I've kind of channeled, you know, although Keith Haring obviously died in the 80s, I've kind of channeled my 90s dance kid here and used, you know, sort of clashing shades of, like, you know, pink, orange and yellow. Apparently these colours are massively fashionable, going to be massively fashionable in the next couple of years, because of the whole, apparently a rave for dopamine rave. That's what I read in the trend reports anyway, so you heard it here first. So anyway, you can see how punchy these colours are as you're colouring in your lovely typography. Has anyone got any questions? Cool. I'll continue talking, or maybe it's stop talking, Ella. We just want to do this. Magic mushroom. I'm loving this. I've never taken a magic mushroom in my life. But I have gone to a few raves when I was young, so guilty as charged. So yeah, I've channeled my inner dance kid. It's 1991 all over again.
I have a quick, sorry, yes. I was going to say, I have a quick question which says, my question was, what would you do if you made a mistake, and how would you go about fixing it?
The great thing about POSCA is if you make a mistake, the good thing is, because it's a paint pen, you can go over it. So say you sort of, you know, do something a little bit dodgy, and you sort of make a little, see where I've just done that arm. If you sort of go, you know, then you can kind of make his arm a bit fatter and sort of go over it. Or you could theoretically just go over with a white POSCA. I've done that before. That's on paper, that's on white paper. If you're working on glass or metal, or sort of a sort of non-porous surface, you can wipe it straight away. So, you know, but I'm a great believer in covering over and making thicker with a POSCA, because it's paint, so you can kind of correct your mistakes quite easily. Nice. If you're doing something like on watercolor paper, for example, you could actually theoretically just wash it with water and then just rub it off. Any other questions? Well, we're colouring in our lovely little green man.
There's two more in the chat. One says, how thick is the card? The ink. So this card is a good, the card I'm using is a good sort of 180 GSM. I've used
or different types of GSM paper, but that's, yeah, it's a fairly robust card, but it's not the thickest. And one of the things with POSCA is that it doesn't show through paper. So even if you use a thin paper, it doesn't show through because it's not alcohol based, it's water based. And when you get that show through, that's with alcohol markers.
Another question was just, are they fully opaque?
Yes, they are. Yeah. If you wanted to make them thinner, you can dilute with water. You can, I mean, one of the things I've done is I've sometimes put a sort of layer of POSCA, sprayed it with some water, and then used a sponge to create a kind of, you know, sort of marbly effect. But you can dilute them. But yeah, they do dry opaque if you don't dilute them. They are like paint, basically. So we're just doing our little decorations around here, and we're just kind of being fun. We're just making basic shapes, lines, squiggles. And what I like to do is I like to sort of fill it with one colour. So I've got a basis, and then I can then use my other colours around that. So obviously, because orange is quite a strong colour, I've sort of thought, right, okay, I'll anchor the design with that, and then I'll sort of use my other pens to sort of create stuff around that. Is there any other questions? Okay, so I'm using my pink. Oh, I'm getting a bit of fluff off. I can use, by the way, you can kind of be pretty handsy with these pens. You can sort of use them, get them on your hands and everything, because they're non-toxic. Now, I'm pretty messy anyway. You might have gathered that, but it's not going to damage me in any way, and it's not going to damage other people if they get, you know, if they get pen on their hands or on their. If you get it on your clothes, you need to wash them straight away and or dab it with some, because obviously you can use it on fabric and they can be permanent on fabric as well.
Question said, does adding water make them semi-transparent?
Yes, they do. Yeah. So I've they're kind of like a milky tone when you use them with water. And if you complete if they're a milky tone on glass and plastic, if you use them with water, but they can be semi-transparent on canvas or on paper. So you can see here I'm using my lighter ones, and again, you know, just adding dots, dashes, some squiggles, you know, just being free really, and just having fun with some mark making. The lovely thing about the 5M, which is this nib, it's just checking, it's 1.8 to 2.5 millimeters, and it's got a nice round bullet tip, so it makes some really nice dots, but it can make some really thick, robust lines. So it's great for if you want to be a bit more bold. It's really good for colouring in. It's a good starter POSCA if you're getting started with POSCAs, because then you can sort of just enjoy the colours and then enjoy the sort of mark making with it. But yeah, it makes good dots, good lines, good dashes. So, you know, you can have a bit of fun with it, and you've got some fairly solid colouring in. So I was aware that I wanted to use the green last because I had this big domineering green of the man. So one of the things that you still want that reference to it, so you still want that green there to anchor your central design, but you also don't want too much of it because then it's just a green card. So you've just got to sort of balance that. And to do that, it's to use those other colours first before you add your green accents around the man, if that's helpful. So once you've filled the card and you're happy with it, and you're happy with, you know, various things, then you can start looking and you can start seeing, oh, actually, does it need a bit more? Does it need an extra bit of pink or an extra bit of yellow? So I've added a bit of, so I'm like, oh yeah, there needs something filling in that bit under his arm. So now you can start, once you're happy with the overall design, you can start putting an outline on it. And one of the things that I think gives POSCA a really kind of strong identity is that they have got this, you know, especially the 5M, you've got this thick, you know, sort of really robust line. And one of the things that gives sort of this style of art, this kind of street arty style of art, is the nice black bold line and an outline. So
would you say that 5M is your favourite size of POSCA?
Depends what I'm using it for, to be honest. I mean, for something like this, I wouldn't use anything else. But it has a larger equivalent, the 7M. So if I was doing larger work, I'd use the 7M. And the 7M has got, quite frankly, the most perfect dots I've ever seen. And I know this sounds really silly, but it just makes absolutely perfect dots. They're like
a really
round and satisfying.
Yeah, that does sound like a really unusual thing to say, but I get it.
I say many unusual things when it comes to art, but I think for because I like this, for this kind of art, the 5M all day long. But the one we're going to use next, the card that we're going to go for next, the flower card, that uses a 1M. And I think they're my favourite in terms of just my kind of style of illustration, you know, just a little bit more delicate and precise. But I think for bold designs like this, I think it's got to be the 5M. You know, it's just a nice, I know it sounds silly, but it's just a nice straightforward marker pen that gives a really nice, iconic, that whole sort of like street art style, mark making style. It kind of really fulfills that kind of iconic brief, really. It kind of, that visual language of street art and, you know, sort of contemporary illustration, I think really, you know, that really exemplifies it.
Watching you fill in on this card at the moment, it just feels like the black obviously really stands out now.
Yeah,
and it
shows
just really
how anchors it.
Yeah, shows how, sounds stupid, but how black the black is.
Yeah. Well, that's the other thing as well, that this sounds, again, you know, these little foibles of creative people. But one of the things I have noticed when I do, because I do product comparisons all the time, and there's good things to be said about some other products. I'm not going to, you know, be one of those people, but I do think that the black, and this is kind of, again, it sounds nerdy, but I think the black POSCA gives a really good black. It's not a bluey black, it's not a browny black, it hasn't got a tinge of green that some markers have. It's got an absolutely true, honest to goodness black, deep black, which I think really works. So yeah, we've kind of finished that card, really. It's just, it's dead simple, this design.
I second the comment that says nothing worse than a wishy-washy black.
Nothing worse. It makes my heart just go, ooh. It's, you know, you want a black, you want it to be punchy. You know, you're making your line. So it's really important, I think. And as well, you need that kind of transparency, that kind of solidity, really. Now, I'm just as well, I'm just adding some accents on here. So you've got the movement around the foot and the hands. And as well, what I think sometimes makes a design really effective is sometimes you just add some little accents and some little details. So trying to see where I'm going. So if you see around the text, I'm just sort of adding that sort of movement. It just gives it a bit more character, and it gives the text a bit more definition. And it just, you know, you could colour it in and it be a straight colour in, but what's the point of that? Make it a bit special, give it some love. So one of the things I love working with POSCA as well is that because it dries solid, while it's wet, you can blend it, but and that's why I was just checking the how wet that that crown was, so I didn't blend it. But then when it's dry, you can overlay. So one of the things I really like doing is adding white highlights with POSCA. And I think that that just gives the design a little bit more movement. It gives it a little bit more character. And it just elevates your drawing from a flat bit of colour to something with just a bit more interest. You know, and I've emphasised his bum, which is always nice. So yeah, you know, doing that on text and everything, you could be really super precise about it and think about what angle the text falls on and where the light would hit it. But I'm kind of a little bit more sort of organic than that, and just sort of I'm quite instinctive in how I work. But it just, again, just gives it a bit more character. So there is your card. So I don't know if anyone's made that along with me, but we can go on to the flowers one. Have we got any questions? Okay, I'll go on to the flower card. Okay. So we're going to a completely different style now. And is everyone okay? Can everyone see that? So we're going, are we all good?
We've got, if you use POSCAs on glass, will they stay on unlike previous?
They will stay. If you don't varnish them, then you could scrape them off. But I'll put it this way. I'll stop sharing the screen for a second. I made this at Christmas with POSCA. I haven't varnished it. I haven't done anything with it. I've just put candles in there, used it at Christmas, and actually you're probably thinking, Ella, you're quite skanky. Why haven't you washed that off? But I found it in my cupboard, and it's pretty robust. I mean, I'm rubbing away. You know, I could wash that off because I haven't varnished it, but I can also, keep that, so I know people that have used POSCA for, you can't see it. Is that, can you see it now? But yeah, it's pretty, yeah, cool. It's pretty robust. I know people that have used POSCA as opposed to chalk on the windows for their display, which looks incredibly effective, but yeah, they have a job scraping it off. So, so you can use it, but it is quite stubborn. But you can, as I say, if you don't varnish it, if you don't bake this in the oven and varnish, then theoretically you can wash this off. So, it can work for different things. Anything else? Or shall I go on to the second card?
I had a question. What was something unusual that you've drawn on with POSCA?
So I've drawn, I've known someone who's drawn onto a car with it.
A
car, and actually it looked amazing. It looked absolutely fantastic.
Nice.
I've done some I know someone who's done a bike with it, which looks amazing. I've decorated, I mean, I've been quite vanilla, really. I've decorated a guitar with it, and I've also done some of my shoes with it. Yeah, I've been really vanilla. I did get which actually looks really cool. I got a load of, those vintage sort of wooden antelopes that you see in charity shops.
Yeah.
I gave them all leotards. in POSCA, and then gave them all like different designed leotards. So they look like a fabulously camp group of drag queens, basically.
Love that.
That are about to do a aerobics thing. So yeah, that's what I did with my POSCAs. But no, people have done cars and bikes and all manner of stuff with them. And a fridge. In the POSCA offices, they've got a fridge done with it. So yeah, you can do practically anything.
Yeah, it does sound like it.
So yeah, so actually, yeah, you know, next time if you want to do a workshop where we do unusual things, I'd be very happy to do something like that. You know, we'll start with cards and then go big.
Yeah.
Which I'm more than happy to do.
We'll go cards and then cars.
Cards and cars, exactly. Well, I think actually as well, though, it is that thing, you know, this is just the building blocks. These illustrations that I'm showing you, they're really easy to recreate. So you can put them, you can upscale them and just upscale your pen.
So if anyone wants to do these designs on a car, and let me know.
Absolutely, I would love to see it. And again, you can go through it all, and you can make some dancing men on a van, something.
That'd be great.
Quite fun. So I'm just going to go through the lovely flower one with you, and this is with the smaller. This is with the smaller POSCA. This is with the 1M POSCA, and this has got a slightly finer nib. So, oh, lovely bit of camera shake from me there, isn't there? Oh, goodness. So what we're going to do is we're going to start by just doing some very, very simple stems. And if you can draw a curved line, I guarantee you can draw these tulips. I'm confident that you can, you know, this is quite an easy thing to recreate. So they start with a curved line and just really, really simple. You could do this in pencil if you wanted to, but I think it's an easy enough design that you can go bold and start off with your pen. So I've got these 3 just simple curved lines, and to add the leaf, I'm just going to make some S shapes around them and just twist them around the curved line.
Question that I have.
Yeah.
How do you get over that fear of making the first mark on your piece of paper?
I really understand this, and it's really interesting. When I did workshops for people, when you're young, you don't have this fear. When you're a kid, they just pick them up and they like start going for it. And I think you get to a certain age and you just have the fear. I honestly think that it's really, once you know that it's okay to make a mistake, then I think you're fine, because it really is okay to make a mistake. You can make a mistake, you can pick up another bit of paper. And if you want, and this is something that I do before, when I go into my art studio, before I start working, I just get a piece of paper and make a mess. And just, then I've done it then. And I've got into that habit of just making my mark, making a mess. But I think first and foremost, don't be frightened of making a mistake. With your mistake come sometimes a real sort of I've made many of my best decisions by making mistakes, my best artistic decisions in particular, by a happy accident or a mistake. So don't be scared and just go for it and be fearless. That's what I'd say. But I know it's an intimidating and scary thing. So that's why it's like, you know, it's like swimming, just jump in. You won't drown. It's really all right. It's quite safe. You know, if you make a mess on a page, nothing's going to happen to you. So you can see here that I'm just filling in those S shapes and just making little loops at the top of my curves. Just as little sort of bulb heads. And this is just a really simple technique. And it's just, you know, practice with this just by making curves and S's. Just fill a page with lots and lots of, you know, different shapes and stuff, and you'll find one that you like and that you're comfortable with, and you go, well, that looks nice, and just practice. But this, I think, is, yeah, fairly, you know, S's and curves. That's what we're looking at for this. So now we're going to go on to our lovely tulips. Now I've picked the violet 1mr for this and the pink 1mr, and I've just, for this tulip shape, it's like, basically they're like two little teardrop shapes interconnecting with each other. And I've done this design on notebooks, I've done this design on cards, I've done this design on sort of like little notices. If you have a birthday and I'm responsible for making the room nice, I'll use chalk markers to do this on windows as well, this design. So this is just really, you know, sort of just a really simple thing of making just nice shapes. Now, you can see with the 1M that you can make really super fine lines, and that's when you hold it at the very top and the very tip of the pen. And if you want a bit more colour coverage, then just hold the tip at an angle. So you might see this here, so you can see very, very tip, you can make that very fine line. And again, you can see I've made a mistake there, and I've just gone around it, and then I've just used that angle just to fill in that colour. So it's a really, you know, it's quite an effective design, but actually you can see it's really easy to do, and it's actually quite quick to do as well. So yeah, you can see there where I've sort of just thought that should be thicker, I've just made it a bit thicker and then gone through it. And what I like to do is just, that's it, you know, where I've got two tulips at the top, then I'll, you know, in a pink, then I'll use two pink tulips at the bottom and a purple. So I've just balanced out the colours as well. It's, you know, a lot of sort of effective design means you sort of think about where you place your colours and how they reflect each other without being matchy. You know, that they're different enough, but they've got a sort of rhythm going on and a dialogue going on with them. So this is quite a simple, as I say, a simple sort of design with simple shapes, but it looks kind of like Art Deco and a bit, you know, a bit more effective. And very, very easy to recreate. So now I'm going to make my lovely daffodils. So again, you know, really, really simple. One sort of petal shape, then two at the side, and then two at the bottom. Just really, really simple shapes. You know, and again, you can practice this, you know, but they are, you know, it's designed to have a sort of simple, kind of just a very simple shape. They're meant, you know, these illustrations are meant to be sort of kind of naive, really. So I've got this little, the daffodil coming up, so you've got a little petal at the bottom, these side petals coming out, and then a little impression. Oh no. So, but yeah, it's kind of quite basic shapes, but they just, you can see how that shape just works.
I love how on both of these cards, even though they're different vibes, if that's the right word to use.
Absolutely, yeah. Well,
but the colours definitely, you can see how bold they are in both, but it doesn't take away from the fact that the other one was obviously a completely different style to this one.
Well, that's, as I say, that's the good thing about POSCA, is that the colours are really, really punchy, but it really, really suits a different, all different design styles. And one of the things that I wanted to do is that, you know, especially with something like this, is that you want to be able to say to someone, oh, just because it isn't your style, you can't enjoy working with them. So what's nice about, you know, the opportunity to do this is that you can just say, right, okay, here's two completely different styles, but you can enjoy this with the pens. So I've made those. Now, as you can see, wait a minute. I've just made very, very simple shapes, and I'm waiting for them to dry before I put my centers in, basically, because if the Posca's dry, if the Posca's wet, then it blends. So you can blend it and use it like a paint pen, use it like a paint, basically. But if it's dry, then you can overlay it. So what I tend to do is I tend to layer my work and then let it dry and then do something else while it's drying. So we're just making these really simple blue flowers. And you can see how, as well, just talking of colour, how punchy that blue is in comparison to the yellow. You know, it's so deep, but they're both so deep, but they really contrast really well.
This might be an impossible question to answer, but how many POSCA pens do you think you have?
It's really, really bad, because obviously I have to try the pens, and I have to sort of, you know, do this stuff for work. And sometimes we'll get a delivery and my husband will go, more pens. And I'm like, yeah, more pens. I think I have about 200.
Wow,
Yeah, it's a lot of pens. It's a lot of pens.
that is a lot of pens.
We bought a sideboard during lockdown. We bought a sideboard because it was getting silly, and I'm looking at this sideboard now, and it is full of pens. So let's say a sideboard's full.
I mean, I say that's a lot of pens. I obviously get to see the Cult Pens warehouse, which is just as full of pens.
Well, I'm a mini warehouse, basically.
Yeah. I like going into the warehouse. It's fun to see.
Oh, it's beautiful.
Everything.
Yeah. But yeah, there's some shades I don't own. So I'm just adding the centers in now that's dried. So I'm just using white to just make that pop out and give that a bit of definition. And then I'm just blending a little bit with the pink. So just to give that a bit of sort of contrast. So you can see they blend a little bit, but not you know, not too much. They're sort of drying out. And what's nice is, as I say, yeah, you can get a bit of definition on there, and sort of add a bit of life of your design just by making little simple lines. But yeah, I haven't counted all my pens. Yeah.
I think if you have over 200, that's too many to count then at that point.
It is too many to count. And yeah, it is. I mean, I do use them all. I get through them. And as I say, what's amazing is that the pens last a long time. So, I mean, those 200, I've had some of them for about 3 or 4 years, and I still use them because they do last quite a while. So it's, you know, that's they're pretty, you know, I've been working with these guys for a pretty long time. And so, as I say, some of those pens are 2 or 3 years old, and they're still good as anything.
I like that you're overlaying the pink on the yellow, because again, it just shows how easy it is to, once they're frozen, when they're dry, to just layer up and sort of create a different effect.
Yeah, and that's it. It's what I wanted to do with these two designs was show that you can get so many different effects just with one pen.
We have if you were making a card like that every day, how long would the pens last for?
Depends really. I mean, so I've got, if I was making a card like that, I'd say the best part of a year. If I was making a card with more colour, so say I was filling it with colour, I'd say sort of, you know, a little bit shorter than that. But I've had pens that, yeah, have sort of, if I was doing that every day, which I have with some, I'd say the best part of a year.
So you can kind of see on the left now, you've got your extra piece of paper. Do you want to
Oh,
like
yes.
explain what
So
it's
I better
for?
talk you through that, because, right, so when you want to prime your pen and when you want to keep your paint as completely fresh as possible, I always have a little scrap paper next to me just to keep priming my pen to make sure the paint's super fresh. I particularly like doing that when I want to overlay, because I want that thickness and that opacity to just sit on those dark backgrounds. So with this white and I'm going over the green, I'll want that. Also, as well, if you do blend your POSCAs and you've got your nib that's a little, might have a little bit of paint on it, what you can do is just keep shaking your pen, pressing it down on that scrap of paper, and that will eventually clean the nib. So you don't have the situation that you have with some alcohol markers that you've completely messed up your nib. You can actually just completely revive it, so you haven't ruined your pen if you've blended. So that scrap paper is, yeah, I've got a lot of those as well. A lot of scrap papers. I've probably got as many of sheets of scrap paper as I have pens.
You like to keep them?
Well, I just end up finding them, if I'm being honest. I think I've thrown them or put them in the recycling. And then, you know, I'll just every now and again, I'll be cleaning something up and I'll just come across a scrap bit of paper, you know. And yeah, it's a bit annoying. So we're going to add some little accents now onto the thing. So, oh look, I've jumped. Wait a minute, let's there we go. So I'm just adding some little leaves around. And again, you know, you can be quite sort of, you can be very, very sort of simple with that, with just some lines and some dashes. And if you've made a mistake, you can just go over it. But just with this sort of design, you just want something quite simple and quite naive around it. You want it to look, you know, sort of painterly and, you know, sort of illustrative. So, you know, you want that simplicity. So it's just some really nice, simple lines and some dots around there. So we've just got some nice little curves and some leaf shapes. And I think with a design like this, that's it, just really enjoy making the shapes. So for that blue, for the blue flowers, we've just got, they really are just triangles put together. And then, you know, sort of, you know, once that's done and dry, then you can add the sort of white center and stuff. But it really is just really simple, but it's how you cluster them. So I've done groups of 3 for everything here, apart from the little red sort of flowers where they can just be little accents. But I've tried to do groups of 3, 3 even, 3 flowers, so you get that sense of these little sort of trios. They work quite nicely together. And yeah, so those little heart-shaped little dots, they're these are like just little sort of lavendery flowers, even though they're in red, and they just sort of add a little bit of accent, and they just anchor the design a little bit and frame it. So, and again, that's really just a very, very simple design. It's just a little heart shape, and they're sort of ever sort of decreasing heart shapes, you know, just in a little line, and you can do a curve with them, you know. But again, really, really simple, and having that sort of very old school illustrative effect. Just realised we've only got 3 minutes. Have we got? Oh yeah, we've got time.
It's
So we've
okay.
got,
I won't end it suddenly at,
okay. So,
at 7.
oh well, I'm all right. I'm here all night. So we've just got, as I say, these really simple designs. We're just adding a little bit of yellow onto there, so you can really layer up some of these things and just keep them, just in a really sort of nice, sort of illustrative effect, but just like by layering up shapes and dots and that kind of thing. So we're just going to finish it with Happy Birthday Cult Pens. So we've got a lovely little just a ribbon effect with the with our text here. So it's just a really simple shape, your simple sort of text shape. You do a little accent on there, and you just keep the lettering quite simple, but then you just add a different line. So you add a little line outside and just a little line inside, and you just keep that thick and thinness, and we call it ribbon writing. And it just feels like the ribbon's sort of undulating with that, and it's just really simple, you see. And again, you just, if I've made a mistake, which I've gone over, and then you just fill that in. And it's just a really simple text effect. So that's your own special card. I'll send it to you, Sarah.
Oh, I'd love that.
Say, yeah, say happy birthday.
Yeah.
But yeah, so you can do this, this is, as I say, this has got kind of vintagey vibes. So I've tried to do that, and you can do that for, you can do that for someone. You can put just one initial in, or you could put a name in, but something just really simple just to go with that kind of floral frame. And there we go. So it's taken us up to 8, but I'm very happy to stay for questions.
Nice. So what I'll do is I'll turn my camera back on and I will add the spotlight. So there's 2 of us. Hey. So just going to do my little bit at the end just so we can say goodbye. And obviously just want to say thank you once again for doing this workshop. It was lovely.
Thank you.
I'm sure we'll definitely do some more. That's good. We'll definitely do some more in the future, because why not? Love it. We like doing we've done a few window workshops, especially over Christmas and stuff, so maybe something like that would be great.
I would love to.
Yeah,
they're a lot of fun.
Obviously we loved the chance to learn about POSCA. Really grateful for everything you've told us, and really useful information in there. Lots to have a look at, and quite simple but really nice designs, something that's definitely achievable for people that don't think they're very creative, because I know there's a few of them people out there. Just a little scoop up at the end just to say that obviously we've recorded this session, so again in a couple of days time hopefully I'll get this out on YouTube, so you'll be able to watch it. It's over on the Cult Pens YouTube channel. We have loads of workshops on there that you can go and watch at any time and do in your free time, so you can pause and play and sort of do it in your speed. That's the best thing. This is going to be the end of our session, and we'll be closing the webinar shortly, but obviously we'll hang in here for a couple minutes just to check if there's any last minute questions. Thank you so much again for sharing with us your artwork. Really appreciate it. Loved the chance to have a play with POSCA. Oh, we've got some nice comments coming in, that's all. Thank you everyone for joining us, and hopefully we'll see you all in the next workshop, whenever that will be.
Yeah, well, I'd love to do some more, so.
Yeah, definitely. We'll see you all soon. Someone said, could you post some ideas of what to draw with POSCA markers, please? I've put a link further up, which is to Ella's social media, so there's a lot of stuff on there that she posts.
We've also, on the Uniball channel, on the Uniball website, uniball.co.uk, there's lots and lots of POSCA ideas on there.
Yeah, we often share some odd bits and bobs here on socials, so I'll make sure to include all of the links to social channels in the YouTube description, so then you can, again, feel free to go and have a look. But there's definitely lots of POSCA inspiration out there, which is lovely.
Yes.
Everyone's saying it's gone really quickly. That's nice.
Oh,
Time
that's
goes
good.
fast, having fun.
That's good. It'd be
Yeah.
terrible if it dragged. It'd be like, God, she's boring.
Yeah. If you've drawn anything along with us tonight or even later on, please do tag us at Cult Pens, and or send it to us in an email or a message, anything. We'd love to see what people create. So if you have had a chance, gonna do the neighbour's car at midnight. Yes.
I like it, Georgina. I like it.
That's what we want to hear. Well, I think that's pretty much it from us. So have a lovely evening, everyone, and we'll definitely see you in the next workshop.
Okay, thank you, Sarah.
It's all right. I'm going to end it now. So I'm say bye-bye to everyone. See you later.